Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Women in Franchising. For those of you who have just joined or are new to this, we are the Dubai Businesswomen Council, and we host quite frequent webinars that aim at introducing new topics as well as the latest skills that help the personal and professional development of the businesswomen community. For the gentlemen with us today, welcome. The council is always very happy to have women and men join its webinars and be a part of our ecosystem, whether they are just guests or whether they are partners or presenters or members of the entire ecosystem. So everybody welcome and good afternoon. Women in Franchising, or today's webinar, is a part of the Council's commitment to supporting the growth of female businesswomen and entrepreneurs by helping them achieve their professional franchise development and expansion goals, regardless of their location. Now, to some, the topic is still very new, it's very broad. You might have a lot of questions. I know that the webinar is only 1 hour. However, we will try to address as many subtopics as possible. We will enable the Q&A box for everyone to type in their questions. We will try to attend to them. However, if we run out of time, then you can get in touch with our speakers through email and address your questions immediately to them. The main goal of today's webinar is to endorse a franchise culture and mindset as part of the overall female entrepreneurship values, as well as to contribute to the creation of a new generation of knowledgeable and passionate franchised female entrepreneurs. Now, we all know that women possess unique characteristics. They have skill sets and personality traits that qualify them to become exceptional leaders in franchising, thanks to their adaptability and organizational flexibility, their strong communication skills, and organizing and prioritizing aptitudes. So we do have a lot of things to be proud of, which could probably be leading or driving forces for us to consider franchising as something in the very, very near future. It's also very worth mentioning that the UAE has ranked first in the region in the Global Entrepreneurship Index for 2020 by Edwards Global Services, a US-based research institution specialized in franchising and issues the Global View report, which ranks the best countries to do business in. Now, I'm going to stop focusing on these little nitty-gritty details and I will share the stage to the professionals themselves, which brings me to introducing my esteemed panelists for today. I'm very, very, very proud and very honored to have our three guests with us in today's webinar, who will be taking over the rest of the hour and will be educating us and shedding information about the entire world of franchising, as much as we can do in 1 hour. So I would like to welcome Farah Rose, Dr. Liliana Kukic, and Mr. Sari Hamway. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am very excited for you to share so much knowledge and skills around the topic of franchising. I know that we have time constraints, and I will mention it again. We will try to attend to as many as possible. However, ladies and gents who are with us in the audience, please type in your questions in the Q&A box and we will try to get to that as soon as possible. I will now hand over the stage to Mr. Sari Hamway. Sari, thank you for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadine, for arranging such a wonderful event. We're all excited to share our knowledge in franchising. We have a lot to cover, and we have so many ideas to share with our audience today. So let's just start by sharing screen, and I would like to go here where we can all get the screen. And today's topic is women in franchising. And the reason we're doing this is because we are embracing an initiative for supporting women in franchising, which we will come to know during this event. So the idea of women in franchising is to embrace the female entrepreneurship, unique leadership potential, and helping them pave their way to success in franchising. And we always take examples from our leaders. So this is a quote from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. It reads as, "Our job is to provide an environment that unlocks women potential, one that protects their dignity and femininity, helps them to create the necessary balance in their lives, and values their talents and potential. Given this environment, I'm confident that women will perform nothing short of miracles." So, continue with the miracles. Let's just go ahead with our webinar. And today we have top speakers with uh, years and years of experience in franchising, and especially the subject of supporting women in franchising. And uh, I'm excited and I'm very happy and delighted to join my colleagues Farah Rose and Dr. Liliana Kukis today in this wonderful event. To begin with, I'd like to congratulate Nadine Halabi for her achievement, uh, being in the list of the women of influence in the Arab World 2021. Um, and I'm a great admirer for Nadine. And from the 100 plus attributes that she enjoys, I picked up very few. Nadine is resourceful, tenacious, clear sighted, with a captivating personality. And in addition to other hundreds positive attributes that any woman can aim for. So thank you again, Nadine, for your achievements. We're all very proud of what you did, and we continue to support you in your arena. And we look forward to hearing more and more about the great news that you're bringing us. And we're happy to be associated with you.
Thank you
Now,
so much, Seri. I'm very humbled. Thank you.
now I'd like to invite my colleague Farah Rose. Amongst the many franchise consultants and trainers in the world, I find Farah is the most respected, most honest. My relationship with Farah goes back 20 years, I think, Farah, if I'm not mistaken, or more. I had a lot to learn from Farah. Um, she is one of the best franchise consultants in the world. So let me just, without any further delay, invite Farah Rose to start her session. And this is her first slides talking about international franchising.
Thank
Over
you,
to
Sari.
you.
Thank you very much, Sari. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm absolutely delighted and privileged and honored to be part of this webinar today. This webinar is particularly close to my heart because, as some of you may have gathered from my name, I'm actually from the Middle East. I was born in Iran and raised locally, and then obviously moved on to Europe and started my career many, many years ago, I guess about 37, 38 years ago in international franchising. So I'm particularly delighted and seriously very honored to be part of today's webinar. Having been involved in international franchising for a very, very long time, I've seen this industry grow and gone from strength to strength. And the practices have become more and more sophisticated. It's become more and more almost structured and systemized, which I think has been extremely good news. As you can see, the combined contribution of the countries from which data were available adds up to around nearly $3 trillion share of the global market, about 4.32 5% share of global GDP. In total, over 3 million businesses are franchised, and the franchise businesses around the world sustain well over 25 million jobs. Sorry. Over 15,000 systems in the European Union are franchised, of which around 980, and I dare say probably that number is slightly higher now, are franchised in the UK, with 13 million plus people employed by franchises in Europe, with a direct output of in excess of $0.8 billion. So it's a fairly serious business. Franchising as a method of growth has been used very successfully and in a very sustainable way right across the US and the rest of the world. Now, let's take a look at what is franchising and why should companies, who are the companies who should consider franchising as a way of growth? I normally say any business that operates as a branch network. What do I mean by branch network? By branch network, I'm talking about maybe a business which may have several units, or may have, if they're in the service industry, may have several territories in which to deliver their services, who wants to grow either domestically or internationally, should at the very least consider franchising as one of its options. It doesn't necessarily mean that franchising is always the right option, but understanding the mechanics and the guiding principles of franchising would be extremely useful for any business which operate as a branch network to actually consider whether they can apply the elements of franchising for their growth. So let's take a look at what is franchising. And I do have to apologize if I'm actually stating some obvious points here to those of you who may be very well aware of what franchising is. But it's a business relationship. It's a contractual and a business relationship. When one party, i.e. the franchisor, who has developed a set of methodology, has a concept, developed set of methodology, has proper systems, can demonstrate success, allows another party that has been selected carefully to operate a replicate clone of a proven business system and allow the franchisee to use its brand name. The franchisor continues to provide support to the franchisee in return for some pre-agreed initial franchise fee and ongoing franchise fee. So as you can see, where I have highlighted some of the keywords, it's a business relationship that's based on a proven business system in return for initial and ongoing fees. Now, what is not franchising? And there has been huge amount of controversy and I guess confusion around this particular slide. As I mentioned, you have been involved in franchising for nearly 38 years, and I have worked extensively in your beautiful region and my maternal native homeland. And I have seen many, many operators all over the world, not just in the Middle East, who somehow confuse, or used to confuse, although they don't much now, the element of franchising with licensing or distribution agreements or agency agreements. We'll come to pyramid selling in a minute. So franchising is not licensing. The boundaries of licensing is a lot more vague. It's a lot more flexible. It's a lot looser in terms of control, in terms of implementation of business format, operating format, and in terms of enforceability of the way that a brand can be protected. So manufacturing certain gadgets, products on the license by a particular licensee who obtains the license from the licensor is not franchising. I dare say I don't need really to go into too much detail considering time constraint. I won't talk too much about distribution agreement. I'm sure the majority of us today are very familiar about the differences between distributing a product and replicating a full business format. So distribution agreement are not franchising. Having the right to operate as an agent in an area, in a region, on behalf of a brand holder is not franchising either. Actually, in pretty much 99% of all the franchise contracts that I have reviewed over a long period of time, there is a specific clause that talks about the franchisee must not pass himself or herself as an agent of the franchisor. So agency agreements are not franchising either. I come to my pet hate, which is pyramid selling. Pyramid selling and franchising had a connection in the olden days, certainly when I was involved in franchising back in the early 80s, where the franchisor or the brand holder, the brand holder would give the right to somebody to sell certain product, and that person would then go and recruit a few other people who would go out through party plans or whatever kind of event plans, and would sell the products. And pyramid selling was actually connected quite closely to franchising in the 70s here in the UK. And we had quite a lot of commercial and legal question mark around, is pyramid selling really franchising? And I can absolutely assure the audience today that pyramid selling is not franchising. Now, why? Because as I mentioned earlier on, the emphasis of franchising is very much based on replicating a well-developed, full turnkey business operating methodology according to a proper format, as well as supplying products and delivering some services. So, what are the advantages of franchising to the franchisor? Clearly, global and regional dominance. We'd love to talk about global dominance, but every big achievement starts with a small step. Usually you may find that franchisors will start franchising domestically and then they move out into various regions, sometime close to home and sometime may not. And then bit by bit, they achieve that much wider spread dominance throughout the world. Done properly, and I have to really emphasize that, done properly, franchising increases brand equity. Done badly, it destroys it. It can destroy it. It's a rapid way of growth for any businesses using someone else's capital, someone else's local knowledge, someone else's network of contact to adapt and adjust and modify and implement the concept and the business methodology in a particular country. There is less reliance on the franchisor's human resources. Fundamentally, as you know, the franchisee will make investment in setting up the business, will staff the business, will run and operate the business, and the franchisor will have a monitoring and consultation role. Franchisees normally have a much higher commitment to success. We always say, when the going gets tough, the franchisees get going. The franchisees invested huge amounts of money and capital in the business. Sometimes they even go as far as investing the family's welfare, financial welfare, and actually commitment to time in developing the business. So you can appreciate that a franchisee's commitment to the success of his or her own business is a lot stronger than a store manager or a regional manager. If they don't do a good job, God forbid, they may actually get fired, sacked, left, whatever, get another job. Whereas with a franchisee, they have the investment at stake. The franchisor will normally have much, much stronger control over this partner-based growth model, as I mentioned to you. it probably, in my opinion, it actually, I would go so far as daring to say that within a franchising environment, the control mechanism that a franchisor will have on the way that the partnership operates in a country would probably be, if not stronger, but certainly as strong as even a joint venture partnership. So you can imagine it's certainly a lot stronger than any other form of partner-based, like distribution and agency and licensing and whatever. And I have worked, I would say potentially now, I probably have worked in about 92 countries, well over 90 countries around the world. And I would tell you that I have not seen a country at any particular period of time of their own legislative development where the clauses and the terms and conditions and the restrictions of the franchise agreement may not have been able to be implemented. So it gives the franchisor a much stronger control over other form of partner-based growth models. Now, what are the disadvantages? There is a degree of loss of control, because obviously the moment that the franchisor gives the franchisee the right to operate a business under its brand name, they could lose a degree of control. It certainly requires a different management style. We always give this analogy when I run various training courses and seminars. I always give this analogy that managing a franchisee is very much like raising a child, and franchisees may go through exactly the same stages of being a toddler, then being a teenager, then hitting adolescent, and then moving on to being a middle-aged. And there is a particular way of actually dealing with franchisees and managing them. They are not your employees, they are independent business people. However, they're out there representing your brand. So it requires a specific way of managing that relationship. Obviously, it requires a degree of upfront investment on your part, on the franchisor's part, in order to set up the franchise and find the franchisees. There is a degree of legal exposure. Done badly, unfortunately, it can come back and bite the franchisor. That's why it's so important to work with experienced people and make sure that obviously you embed the franchise properly right from the start to reduce that chance of legal exposure. There clearly is lower income stream for the franchisor than the franchisor owning their own businesses, because a franchisor typically would pick up anything between 4 maybe to 10%, depending, royalty and a one-off fee. Whereas if the franchisor set up their own company-owned operation, clearly they will be picking up 100% of the turnover. But equally, the franchisor is not investing the money, so the return on invested capital is incomparable. Speed of reaction to change may be somewhat slower. If one is in charge of one's own operation and own network, changes can happen a lot quicker because you don't have to convince anybody else why they need to buy into the change. So speed of reaction sometimes can be a little bit slower as a franchisor. What does a franchisor need in order to assess what are the key elements, the foundation of good franchising? Clearly, a stable concept that has staying power, adequate pilot testing. The franchisor needs to ensure that the business has been piloted properly and that proper operating systems have been developed around that particular implementation of the concept. Franchisor that's well capitalized, has sufficient amount of capital in order to dedicate to this venture. Franchisor which has long-term strategy. This is not a get-rich-short-term fix-it. We normally say around 5-year strategy is the minimum. A franchisor that has actually developed a proper franchisee profile and knows who would be the best person to partner with. A franchisor that has a very strong domestic track record. So, running a business for 6 months and wanting to franchise it is absolutely inappropriate. We normally say anything minimum around 3 to 4 years, have a very strong track record in the domestic market, and correct franchise management culture. As I mentioned to you, the management style is somewhat different. The ethics of franchising and the practices of franchising can apply right across all sectors. So this is not just a strategy for retail growth. It's not just a strategy for food and beverage. It's not just a strategy for hospitality. Over the course of last 30 odd years, I've worked with well over 300, 350, potentially maybe 400 brands in international markets where I have adopted the elements of successful franchising right across all sectors, from retail to education, training, coaching, mentoring, food and beverage, hospitality, leisure, healthcare. More and more we see, as the world is changing and evolving very rapidly, we see an awful lot of online businesses being going down the franchising route. And any sort of B2B, business to business or business to consumer services, like care, maid services, tax advice, financial accountancy, car maintenance, domiciliary care, care in the community, non-profit making businesses, art, supplying of artifacts from one nation to another. So franchising as a method of growth can lend itself very easily to many, many businesses right across the center. And this fallacy about, well, we are not Burger King and McDonald's and we are not KFC and a retailer, therefore we can't franchise our business, no longer really should be on the forefront of anyone who operates a business in a different sector. So why am I saying what I am saying? Why am I saying that the principles of franchising can be applicable to many businesses across the sector? What is it, the common thread that runs through all of these various businesses in different sectors? So long as a franchisor has got a replicable system that's been trialed and proven to be profitable and can be implemented in a seamless way, as long as a franchisor has a secure brand name that can travel, mainly internationally, because obviously the brand name would travel domestically. As long as they have a secure intellectual property in another market, like ability to register the trade name and the trademarks, as long as they have some element of uniqueness about them, doing it in a different way, doing it properly, doing it, having some kind of a unique selling proposition that differentiate them from other operators. So long as a franchisor can put the right levels of support and training in place in order to deliver his or her responsibility as an ethical franchisor and handhold the franchisee, so long as the franchisor can prove successful, sufficiently long enough track record and know-how, and so long as the franchisor has got a clear strategy for growth, there is no reason whatsoever why a franchisor cannot use the principle of franchising right across other sectors. So, finally, what are the guiding principles of a good, solid, successful franchisor? Develop a concept and prove its success. Own and have the right to use the brand name and lease the brand name to someone else. And guide the franchisee into the network properly and continue to support them in order to achieve success. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you, Sari.
Thank you, Farah. That was really insightful. Lots of details. We're planning many events in the future, and we would like to invite Farah to share more insights on how to franchise your business, which is really a good topic where you can really all benefit from experience and knowledge, and you can actually start franchising your business in real life. Now, let me introduce my very dear friend and associate, Dr. Liliana Kukis. And Dr. Liliana is a very detailed person. She achieves a lot in a very little time. She is the co-founder and the president of the Croatian Franchise Association, but she teaches franchising in many universities in Europe. She supports women in franchising. She supports many other initiatives. She's very generous, I would say, in giving, in sharing her knowledge and experience. And that's a unique trait you find in a person, that the willingness to share knowledge and experience. So let me, without delay, invite Dr. Liliana to start her part of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Sari. I'm very glad to be here today, and I'm very honored. And I'm happy to speak about women in franchising, actually, because franchising is very complementary to the female way of doing business, and vice versa. And I have to tell you that franchising, actually, in my point of view, is offering a risk sharing in the two most vulnerable stages of the company life cycle, in a startup and in a growth stage. And I will explain more later. And just a moment, I would like to. Okay, and so let's start with another definition of franchising, a little bit different from the definition that my colleague said, only because she really used the proper official definition. I'm more fond of that common definition, more definition that can describe better the franchising. So I said that is that franchising actually is turning one successful business into many of them, whether you're a startup entrepreneur or you would like to grow or internationalize your business. And actually you learn even through the presentation of Farah that franchising is one of the most dynamic and least understood parts of any economy, because there is a lot of things that are overlapping, and people are not they're not familiar with all those things. But anyhow, franchising is a very important way of starting business or developing a business. So sorry. Next slide, yeah. So my colleague, Sari Hamway, actually quote Angelina Jolie recently, and he said that, she said actually that the strong, free, and educated women are the greatest pillar of stability. And I think the precondition for that is equality, and equality on every level. And I think that our generation of women are brought up with this unspoken expectation of equality. And only equality can bring, comprehensive quality in every way, every segment of life, especially, of course, in business. And when we are talking about women in franchising, there is a share of 25% women in franchise businesses. So we have a long way to go, to reach this quality in this segment, in franchising. Sorry, thank you. So I will try to explain you. My colleague spoke about franchising, but she speaks more about the franchising on the point of view of franchisor, of already established entrepreneur who would like to grow and to internationalize the business, and franchising is best way to do it. But there is another aspect of franchising as well. That aspect is aspects of franchisee, and that is more or less a startup business. So these two aspects, franchisee as a startup business who would like to start their entrepreneurial journey with acquisition of a franchise concept, and the franchisor who is already established and a successful business and who would like to expand through franchising, those two roles are more important, main roles in franchise business. So let's speak a little bit about the numbers. You heard some of data that Farah said, and they are quite impressive. So a little bit less than 30,000 franchise brands exists globally, and more than half of that is in Europe. And franchising is operating in more than 300 different industries. And actually, these 30,000 franchise brands created more than 3 million locations. So that 3 million locations, more or less, don't take me exactly, is almost 3 million companies. So 30,000 franchise brands create 3 million companies, more or less. Some companies has multi-brands and so on, but let's say 2.5 million companies. And those companies employ more than 25 million persons in the world. So if we are talking directly, but there is also suppliers and employees by suppliers or by stakeholders, or by franchising ecosystem, and it's almost 20 million more. So we are talking here about huge and important business sector. Did you know that more than 50% of retail in the world is in franchising? So while we speak in this 20 minutes, 4 or 5 new franchise locations are opened. So it's a big business. And I would like just to repeat what my colleague already says, that the franchising is actually partnership agreement between 2 or more legally independent companies. That's important to know, that those companies are not, that the franchisees are not employees of the franchisors or something like that. It's a partnership agreement between 2 legally independent companies, and those companies decided to develop the same business. So the business under the same brand, let's say. So the both companies, franchisors and franchisees, has the same interest that this business is successful, because it's their reputation in the stake, not only the franchisees but the franchisors as well. So that's why the franchising is strong and powerful. So, and I used to say using franchising is more sustainable way to develop the business. And why this sustainable? So it's more sustainable because of the transfer of the know-how from franchisor to franchisees, from transfer of knowledge, of business secrets, of policy, procedures, already proven business, ongoing brand, and so on. So all that package actually gives sustainability of the business. There is a little bit of statistics. It's old, it's not very new one, but I like to use them just to show the difference. That says that only 25% of the businesses that start from the scratches, so from the beginning, survive first 5 years of business. And if you see the franchise businesses, if you start the business through acquisition of the franchise, the sustainability is more than 90% in the same 5 years. So the difference is really big, 25%, versus 90%. And that's why it's because of risk sharing, of transfer of the know-how, transfer of business secrets, training, ongoing support, and so on and so on. So all of that is important. Please, Sarah. Oh, sorry. Can you go back? I didn't see that you already changed it before. So thank you very much. So let's go a little bit further with the statistic. In USA, for example, 50% of businesses are owned by women. In Emirates, I read that it's almost the same situation, about 50% businesses are owned by women. In Europe, it's only 35%, so we have a long way to go. And I already said that 25% of women own franchises. So plus 17% of the companies that are owned equally by men or women are in franchising as well. So it is a quite important share, but we are working on, to reach more. And in the last decade, the share of women in franchising has increased by 83%, while the share of male increased only by 13%. So I read somewhere that 8 out of 10 female entrepreneurs in Emirates would like to expand. That means almost 80% of women-owned businesses in your country would like to expand. And they need to know about franchising, because franchising will make their life much more easier. Because you can expand in a much faster and in much more sustainable way than by going directly alone.
Dr. Liliana, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
Yes.
have to make a comment.
Yes.
From the audience with us, I can see a couple, and I will not mention their names just to keep it, confidential. But I do see a couple of names of my members from the council who have extraordinary businesses here in Dubai, and I really hope that they take into consideration all the points that all of you are mentioning, because I believe that their businesses they deserve to be franchised. So for the ladies in the audience who know who they are, I think this is the right time. Thank you.
We'd love to hear from them. You have our email address here. Just write to us at info@thefranchisetrainer.com, and we will be more than happy to share with you um, our views of how you can franchise your business locally, regionally, and internationally.
Yes,
Uh,
I was very happy when I saw this data that 80% of female businesses would like to expand. It's wonderful, and I'm sure that that franchising would help them a lot, and so that's why we are here. So can we go further? So. But I would like to say that statistics also show, not only with the women, but also in general, that a lot of people would like to start their own businesses. But on the end, a much smaller number actually started. And when we're talking about women, especially in the last decade, the challenges, a barrier was, access to the capital, or access to information, to proper education, or, self-confidence, courage, lack of support of the family, or fear of judgment, and so on. So during this past decade, we overcome a lot of those challenges, actually, with the creation of this entrepreneurial friendly ecosystem, and it's very good. But there are few barriers, few challenges that are still very stubborn, and they still exist. And I like to call them, vicious triple, because it's lack of self-confidence, lack of courage, or lack of ideas and to start our business. And actually franchising can help in all those situations, because it will empower women with a self-confidence and courage to start a business, because she will have a mentor who will help her with ongoing support to build that business. And as we told before, there is 30,000 franchise brand. It's a lot of ideas what you would like to start, what you would like to invest in and start. In most of them, it's not important to have previous knowledge, because the franchisor will give all the training, education, and ongoing support and mentorship during the business. In most of them, not in all, but in most of them. So, but why we're talking about this entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is very, very important. It's not important only because the person will start own business, but it's important because it's the way of life. It's a way how we face the challenges from the environment, how we face everyday life. And because of that, the Council of European Union declared these 8 key life competencies that are fundamental for each individual and the knowledge-based society. And one of them is franchising as well. So if we go further, you will see this sense of initiative entrepreneurship, and they explain it as ability to turn ideas into action through creativity, innovation, and risk-taking. And it's not connected with starting the business. It's for everyday life as well, and because for the starting own business, for independence. But it's very important to know there is a big project in Europe now just to introduce the education about entrepreneurship even in the preschools. It's not because they will start a business one day, but it's a entrepreneurial mindset that it's very important with the children and the grown and the people in general, you know, and they will become a grown-up people one day, because that's the way how you face, you know, the reality of your life and the challenges in your life. That's why it's entrepreneurship is important as well. But what franchising can give, you know, to the businesswoman in everywhere, in Emirates as well, and so on, it can help them with their self-confidence. It can help them to recognize their own potential, to show them that they can have their own business but not be alone. So, you know, they can be, you know, their own boss, but not left alone, because there is a mentor, there is someone who will guide them and who will give them support during the period of the contract. And in that way, they are starting the business, already proven concept, already ongoing business, with a proven brand, with a proven policies, procedure, and so on. And they will not have to learn by their own trial and errors, what is very important, because that is the costly thing, I think, in the business. And so that's why the franchising is important, on my point of view, especially for women, because we tend to have a little bit less courage and less self-confidence, and maybe less, you know, less risk. We take risks a little bit, you know, less strongly or more strongly than men do, and so on and so on. So that's why franchising can give the answers. Can we change the? Yes, thank you. So actually, there is one more thing. When you franchising is giving predictability, and that is something that especially women loves a lot. You know, because when you have all policy procedure, when everything is predicted in your business, that means you can manage it more freely, more you know, in a more in a better way, and you can manage your work and life balance better, because you know what is expected and what is going on. On the other hand, when we're talking about the franchisors of women or franchisees in a small business, we are talking about, you know, micro or small businesses that can grow through franchising. And I think it's actually wrong, you know, the bias that the franchising is only for the mega brands. So maybe it's I don't know, 5 to 10% of mega galactic brands in the world, and even those started as a small businesses. So franchising is actually a tool for micro or small businesses to grow their business, maybe nationally, maybe just locally, maybe internationally. But you know, it's for everyone, not only for very big corporations and for very big brands. So what is also important to say that actually women are changing the franchise business itself, because we are bringing to it something new, traits that wasn't there before, and so franchisors has to adapt on that. So we are more collaborative. We share ideas more freely. We are not afraid to ask questions. Actually, we are asking a lot of questions. So we tend to look in our businesses in different angles. We like to go, you know, profound in the problems. So all those things is very, very important for success in franchising. But what is more important is that you know, franchising is also like family business, even though the partners are not a family. But actually this family environment, this family atmosphere is very, very important in franchising. There is also definition that franchising, like a marriage, legally defined a relationship for a long period of time. So you know the ground rules, but you need a partner who will support you, encourage you, who will inspire you, and vice versa. So actually this marriage means family. And who is the best to create the family atmosphere and the family environment? So it's women. So that's why there is this special bond between franchising and the women. So women in franchising also tend to transfer their knowledge and their experience and their know-how to social projects. So here we are talking about social franchising, and that is very important for the national economy as well. So franchising has this a lot of layers that can build, economy stronger and be this generator of entrepreneurship and employment. So I would like to say something more. Dubai Businesswomen Council and their project, what I saw on the internet, is very important stakeholder in this entrepreneurial friendly ecosystem. And when I read some of the goals of the Dubai Businesswomen Council to promote women's economic empowerment or entrepreneurship, to encourage networking, to exchange of good practices, knowledge, and so on, all of that goals can be covered by franchising, because franchising can help a lot to achieve all of that goals, because of all things I already said, because of the transfer of the know-how, transfer of knowledge, of proven business, of intellectual property, or then the competitive advantage. The base of know-how is competitive advantage. So that means that those businesses will be competitive from the day one, actually, of the business, more competitive than the others. And I'm sure that franchising can actually empower, women, to participate in this, economic growth of Emirates, as well as all other business sector, or maybe even more, because of this fast way of expanding. So thank you very much. I hope there will be questions, and I'm very happy to answer on that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Liliana. That was really eye-opening, especially the numbers you shared with us. And this is my part of the presentation, and I feel like I don't have much to say after, what I heard from my colleagues. But in my this part of my life, in my career, I have a new vision and a new mission in life, and one of them is maybe launch few initiatives to support micro businesses and SMEs, and especially women in franchising. Uh, so I'm here to talk about the initiative, the Women in Franchising initiative, and I'll try to make it quick. And again, I love quotes. We learn so much, and Her Excellency Dr. Raja said, obstacles are always a stepping stone to success. Surmounting an obstacle is a test of character. You will be surprised to realize how far you can go from the point you thought was the end. This is really deep, and I'd love to share this with you because you too can learn from a woman who's been ranked as the Middle East most powerful woman. Uh, so here is women, yeah, and I firmly believe that women are genetically born hardwired to be successful. Um, Women possess again unique characteristics. Uh, I don't want to go through all of this, but one thing, we all say that women have the ability to juggle many tasks at the same time, hundreds of them, and they do that without effort, effortlessly. And like we men sit there and look, and get surprised in how they can achieve things. A man is more focused on one task at a time, but women has these skill sets. They have eye for detail. They're creative in a different way. Uh, they have great networking abilities, and there are so many traits in women that qualify them to become successful entrepreneurs, and especially in franchising. Now, the problem is that women are utterly underrepresented, with very few female-led successful businesses in the regional entrepreneurship landscape. So here why we're talking today, because what we want to do is to launch the Women in Franchising initiative with the vision to augment the role of franchising in empowering female entrepreneurs. What we want is to help entrepreneurs achieve economic independence and financial security. What we want to achieve is to build a successful and profitable franchise model that can be replicated, and we support both women-owned businesses, the franchisors, and independent franchised units owned by women. Uh, so the objective is to build a successful business model through franchising. So we develop a franchise system for a successful, proven successful female-owned business according to a certain criteria, though. And then we develop that into a franchise. And what we want to do is improve the culture of franchising through awareness. We provide support to micro and small enterprises for women entrepreneurs, develop the capabilities and skills of women entrepreneurs, enhance the managerial, administrative, and operational and financial capabilities of women, and then encourage national companies and institutions to build supportive platforms for women. So it's not one person job, the initiative. We cannot do it alone. We want you to be part of it. And today, I think I have 2 minutes left. So what we want to do, we want to focus on low-cost investment projects, introduce knowledge, skills, capabilities in society, projects that or businesses that provide opportunity for transfer of knowledge and technology. And we want innovative businesses, non-displacing, not the standard pizza, burger, and fried chicken kind of franchise. There is a big opportunity here, and it's through the creating revenue sources for women and family, reduce risk for informal sectors. This is very important in many countries. We want to help women have established businesses through franchising, and then manage under a trade name and trademark. They need to focus on the quality part of the business and provide turnkey projects for franchised retail units, obtaining financial facilities. These are the opportunities. Banks needs to be involved in the initiative to support both franchisors and franchisees. And then they distribute their products and services on a larger scale. So the initiative is about education, awareness, benchmarking with other countries who've been working on the women in franchising, sending trade missions, bringing inward trade missions, the literature, the infographics, the website, a platform, social media, and trade delegations and training, international speakers, conferences, workshops. So we work. It's a huge program, and like I said, I invite you today to consider being part of this initiative, and I'll tell you how. this is who's involved. So we have the women supporting organization like Dubai Business Women Council. We need banks. We need a dignitary to sponsor the initiative, and then the franchise trainer, which is us, which we will do the model. We will guide the all parties involved in the initiative, and then the female-owned businesses. We do the franchise development program, and then we create the franchised units. This is how it works in general. And that's it, Nadine. I don't think we have time for the polling session unless you allow us. So,
Of course, I would like the audience just to hang on a few more minutes. We do have a polling session that we would require your feedback on. Ladies and gents, if you can just take a minute just to undergo the polling session. And then I have a question from the audience that I would like to address. It's a very, very valid question and a very common challenge from all those who wish to franchise their businesses. And like I said earlier, there are people in the audience that I personally know from the council who have great businesses, but they're very small businesses. However, franchising such businesses, there are a couple of obstacles for these people that, and hopefully we can provide them with answers. So let's do the polling session very quick.
sure. Thank you very much for the bonus time. So the first question is, do you believe that Women in Franchising Initiative can support female business owners? And it's a yes or no, and I'm launching the poll now. Please go ahead and choose your answer. And Honey, notify me when you're when the polling is finished for this. So I have 69% voted. And that's it.
Okay.
Do I launch the?
Yes, please.
All right. The next one is, let me share results here. I think I need to share results. So the results are
100% yes.
100%, but there is no 10%, which I don't understand.
There's 1 out of 10 that's, yeah. Can we go to the next one, please, Sarit, just to buy more time?
Yeah, okay. And how do I do that? Stop sharing results, maybe. And then relaunch, or maybe continue. Here it is. The second question is here. And would you be interested to join a Women in Franchising Club to support initiative? To support the initiative, the Women in Franchising Initiative. Can you
show that again, the question again? It has disappeared from the screen.
Okay.
Yes, it's back on.
Back on. All right. So
can we have your answers, please, ladies and gents from the audience?
It's again yes or no. And thank you very much. It's 100% share results. 100% yes. And there is no. And that's really exciting for me because I would like you, whoever said yes, to communicate personally with me. This is my email address, sari@thefranchisetrainer.com. This is my number, 009715045375534. And if you want to follow our posts on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and hashtag woman_in_franchising_initiative. And
thank you, Sari.
We will create this club with your help, and we will launch a very successful initiative for women in franchising. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. But before you go, I want to keep all three of you just for another minute or two. I want to go over the question from one of our members and ladies in the audience who actually own business. She says, the costs working with a franchise consultant, creating a franchise agreement and setting up the franchise does require a big capital injection at the start. Businesses like mine do not have this huge amount of capital at the start. We cannot get financing from banks due to being SMEs. So, what do you suggest to enable us to get capital to start the franchise business? As
Thank
you
you
said,
very much.
it will take about 5 years to make a profit. So this is what is preventing me and others from going the franchise route. And I would like to add, as per my personal experience with the council, I do know of women who share the same challenge. And can we give them a straightforward answer and see how, how we can, because obviously the obstacle is money. Is there
If
a
you
way around that?
Yeah, if you allow me, please, my colleagues, would you allow me to answer this question on our behalf? Yes, in the franchise trainer, we have what we call the fast track franchise development program. It's a marketing orientated franchise development program. So we developed the franchise with the purpose of starting franchising in 6 weeks. That immediate, with very minimal costs on the part of the business owner. And then in 6 weeks, they start franchising. We develop the marketing material, the franchise marketing material, and some legal documents, and we're on. We start promoting the franchise. And then as we go along, we reinvest the money collected from deposits or franchise fees or whatever into the business to continue building the rest of the franchise documentation, such as operating manuals and so forth. So two things here. It's not an expensive project for franchisors. Two, it is fast-tracked. In 6 weeks only, they can start franchising. I hope I was able to
Yes,
answer
this is
your
very
question.
straightforward and exactly, it is very hopeful as well. I do encourage the ladies and gentlemen in the audience who would like to pursue this to get in touch with Sari, Dr. Liliana, and Farah through the emails provided. Please get in touch, find out what it is that they can do to help you out. I'm sure that we could also help you or connect you to them to find a way to a possible solution. I want now to conclude the webinar by thanking each and every one of you. Dr. Liliana, Farah, Sari, thank you so much for being a part of today's webinar. Thank you for sharing the insight, the information. At least now we know what franchising is and isn't, what we need to, this is so important. I actually took notes. And you've clarified a lot of discrepancies and misunderstandings around the subject of franchising. As I said initially, yes, it is a large, broad topic. However, I do hope that in the next few months, we can reconvene and do something that will lead up to this initial amazing webinar. Thank you so much for being with us. For our audience, thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you, Nadine.
Have a great day. Be safe and take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
You've been a
Thank
great
you.
audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Dr. Liliana,
Thank
Farah.
you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Bye-bye. See you soon.